fits here today. I was speaking to a lot of you earlier, even where I was sitting in between, like between two inspirational women as well, and I was just thinking, wow, if I had the whole day, I'd be listening to all of you in the audience, because there's so much that I can learn from you. And in that spirit, I would like to share with you my perspective. I've been fortunate throughout my journey. I started my entrepreneurial journey 10 years ago at age 11, we'll get to that. But throughout the journey, what changed my life is kind people like all of you who have been willing to share your experiences, your thoughts, your time, to not just teach, but to listen. And for that, I'm full of gratitude. So as I said, my name is Harsha. I am a 21-year-old entrepreneur. I started my entrepreneurial journey 10 years ago, but my startup Ascendance, a social enterprise, has been around for the last 8 years now. We started in 2015. And Ascendance in the last 8 years has worked with over 50,000 students across 26 countries, 800 schools, communities, universities across Malaysia and other places around the world, all with the single goal to help students, everyday Gen Zs, discover what they love and have the resources, the equipment, the opportunities to pursue their passion and achieve success while they're still in school. So we go out there to schools all across Malaysia, from here in KL to Sabah, Sarawak, Kedah, Kelantan, Melaka, everywhere that you can think of in Malaysia. And we work with the kids who are the at-risk kids. Kids at risk of dropping out, of failing, the ones who are overlooked, never given the opportunities. And we work with them to listen and ask them, what is it that you want to do? What are the things that you are passionate about? You don't know? That's perfectly fine. And we provide them with different opportunities, things that they can try out, until they can discover what they love. From there, we provide them experiential or learning opportunities for them to go out there, get real-world experiences, work on their own projects, put into application all of the things they learn in the classroom, and develop the meaningful, relevant skills they need to start their own careers. From there, we incubate them to help them launch their careers, whether that's in music or being a stand-up comedian, we've had a few, or as an entrepreneur. And we've seen countless number of these students become phenomenal young social entrepreneurs who not only run businesses that make profit, that sustain themselves, but also that give back to their families, give back to their communities, all among our Malaysian Gen Zs. I mean, we have at the back there, one of our students, actually we have a table of some of our students as well. One of them is Abi. Abi is, I think she's, how old are you now, Abi? You're 19? Yeah, 19-year-old social entrepreneur. We've worked with her for the last 4 years. When we started, she was a very kind, excited girl from a PPR community. Today, 4 years later, she runs her own social enterprise, earns enough money to actually live on her own, sustain herself, and at the same time give back to her family, give back her time, experience, and even funds to build other youngsters. And that is for Abi. Let's give a round of applause for her. Me all boring again, right? Okay. But that's what we want for every single student out there. And I was talking to another entrepreneur who I met very recently. She was a 20, in her late 20s, and she said, I too was a social entrepreneur. I started when I was 15. And in this conversation, she said something that was very shocking for me. She said this, she said, it's so easy to be a young entrepreneur. Everyone wants to listen to you. Everyone wants to help you. And I said, I agree. But at the same time, you and I, having this conversation, we are already the lucky ones. We are the 1 in a million. The goal of Ascendance is to make this normal, is so that every kid can do this, not just us. So today I'll talk about 3 different experiences that represent different parts of my journey, the lessons I learned from it, and hopefully a little bit of the support I wish I had. So that for all of you young entrepreneurs, you take away something hopefully that helps you on your journey. And for all of you in a position to help a young leader, hopefully you get a bit of a glimpse of our perspective of what you can do to support this community. So my entrepreneurial journey, I said, started when I was 11. I was the most unremarkable 11-year-old you'd ever meet. I was shy, quiet. I was so quiet whenever my family would drive back from an event, they would stop the car on the road and they'd turn around and say, "Where is Harsha?" Because I didn't say anything the whole time. I was in the car, I just didn't say anything. So, I was the kind of kid that when people met me, they thought, oh, maybe, it'd be good if eventually you can do well in school and everything. But nobody really expected much from me. I was just a normal kid. And if someone would ask me, what is it that you want to do, Harsha? Tell me now, I'll give you $1 million. I would have no answer. Because I didn't even know what I wanted. But my life changed when I was 11. Not because of anything I did. Again, what would I have done? But because of my mother. So my mom is a single mom, 2 kids, 2 aging parents. And when I was 11, she quit her corporate job to essentially start her own social enterprise. So she was a finance director at an MNC. Quit her job because she wanted to do something that made people happy, that empowered people. And in that journey, saw a complete change in her life. From high-flying, jet-setting lifestyle, she was handing out surveys in malls for her business. She was, starting from scratch, making cold calls. And the best part is, she would take me along with her to go for all of these opportunities she was seeking. In hindsight, it's because she didn't have a babysitter at home, but for me, it was lots of fun. I got to spend time with my mom. And one of the things that she would do is she would take us to these events with other entrepreneurs, other social entrepreneurs. And there's this one particular business incubator in Malaysia called ETIS that used to have these weekly talks by different entrepreneurs, or some of them running $1 million businesses, some of them just starting out, but all of them the nicest people you'd ever meet. And me, as the 11-year-old in the room, you can see my very 11-year-old expression there, very focused, would go there, sit in this crowd at the back, and not say anything. But just by osmosis of being in that environment, a lot of them were kind enough to ask me, so Harsha, what are the things that you like? Oh Harsha, I'm working on this big project with this company from this country. What do you think about it? What can you advise me? And it was the first time people actually asked me my opinion. They asked me what I thought. And naturally, I got very involved. Of course, I probably didn't give them any useful feedback. But now I was going with them for their events, their workshops, setting up. I was doing booths. I was getting in the back seat, the arrangements and everything. I was, working on their social media projects. And just by working with all of these different companies, my life completely changed. During my weekends, I was going, setting up for fashion shows. I was, working on, projects with IT companies. I was learning, one day we even went for like a baking workshop and all of these things. And it was this experience and these conversations with these successful people that completely changed who I am. It changed my confidence, knowing people were willing to listen, take my opinion. It changed the way I think and think. And naturally, by doing this, my exam results improved from an average scoring student. I became a straight A scorer, not because I was studying every day, because I could understand better. I started figuring out what were the things that I loved doing. And I started realizing, you know what, I was not the only kid that was experiencing this. There were other kids in this platform whose parents also didn't have babysitters, who were going through the same thing as well. And what we noticed is, by the time we were in school, by the time some of us were in finishing school, we all had a head start in our career. Like I think later you'll meet Hira. Hira's actually my sister, don't tell anyone. But Hira is essentially today an international singer-songwriter and performer. She just got back from the Netherlands where she was opening an award show and won an award there. She wins awards in California, to Nashville, to all across the globe. If you read the Sun paper, she's been there for the last 2 weeks, you can see her everywhere. And today she's a rock star. But, no, really, she's a rock star. I'll show you later video. But yeah. But essentially, when she started, she was just a 14-year-old girl who likes music. Most 14-year-old girls like music, right? But because people believed in her, she had that opportunity, she had that ability to go forward. Another one of my co-founders here, Sun, has the camera there. So why he has a camera is he's actually a professional documentary filmmaker. And at 23 years old, he already has 3 documentaries that have won awards in Tokyo, Stockholm, Germany. And he did all of this again because people believed in him. And all of us were doing this while we were in school. And we realized one amazing realization. We were not particularly talented, we were not particularly smart, we were not particularly intelligent, But we had this platform. And we thought, well, if this worked for us, what if we could bring this to every student out there? Wouldn't their lives be much better? So that's what we did. So 2015, I was 13, oldest of our team was 19. We started our own social enterprise called Ascendance with this goal in mind. Of course, at 13 years old, we didn't have any contacts, we didn't have any connections, we didn't know anyone. So where do you start? But we knew, okay, we wanted to work with students. Where can we work with students? Schools. I go to a school. Perfect. So I go to my school. The first thing they say is, you cannot work with you, sorry. You have to have approvals and all of that. So we say, okay, try again. Tuition centers, home schools, children's homes. So we went on Google. I went on Google. And the first thing I Googled was tuition centers in Selangor. And I would call one by one every tuition center that came out in Google. And of course, you can imagine the first person I talked to said, amazing Harsha, you brilliant 13-year-old, come to my... No. The first person I ever talked to, I remember, I picked up the phone, I called her. In her defense, I probably was not talking most coherently. But I said, hi, my name's Harsha, I'm doing this and all of that. And after listening to me, she told me this. I have been running this tuition center for 20 years. You are 13 years old. What can you teach my students that I can't? True, so right? Don't blame her. But you can imagine at 13, your first call you ever make, I'm shaking. But because I had that environment, because I had those people, I was able to just listen to what they said. They said, well, I'm 40, I still get scolded when I make cold calls, so try again. You make 100 calls, one person has to say yes. So I made 100 calls. We made hundreds of calls in those beginning stages. And by the end of it, we actually met many kind, wonderful tuition center owners who invited us to run these year-long programs. And in that first year, we worked with over 500 students across 10 different institutions. The results of which, we saw many of these students go from failing all their subjects to getting straight A's and B's. Many of them who had no idea what they liked doing, becoming professional dancers today, or being able to select courses in universities that they resonated with, that they learned. And it was from these results that we thought, what can we do next? We have this goal, we want to bring it to every kid, right? We cannot just keep going to each tuition center. Again, we didn't know anyone here, we didn't know anyone there. But that brings me to my second story, and the second lesson, which was to put myself out there. So because we didn't know anyone, the one thing we knew how to do is show up. So we would go for events, conferences, programs, ask questions, make noise politely, talk to people, go out there and meet as many people as we could. It was actually in one event. We were invited because one of our mentors had free tickets to an event. He said, do any of you want to go? Two of our co-founders went, met the speaker on the way out to the washroom. And just like going to the washroom, hey, you're the keynote speaker, right? And the guy was like, yeah. And they had a stroke up a conversation. The keynote speaker was from the Philippines. He said, why don't you come to my event in the Philippines? And we went back and we begged all our mentors, please, can we go for this event? This very nice social entrepreneur invited us, raised the funds with them, sent ourselves to the Philippines. And again, we just went as delegates. But because we went and spoke to every single person there, whether they were the organizers or the attendees or the speakers, we made so much noise, positively, and so much, visibility, that by the end of the 3 days of that conference, someone said, okay, you seem to be talking to everyone. We have a few extra minutes at the end of the conference. Do you want to come and speak? And my whole team looks at me and says, Harsha, you go. So that was when 14 years old, the first time I stood on the stage. And I spoke. And I shared about the work we did with Ascendance. And to my surprise, people actually applauded. People actually came and spoke. They invited us to speak at different events, share the results we had, talk about the impact we've had on students. And in one such event, someone from a non-profit came up to us and said, why don't you guys work with the Ministry of Education on this? And we said, well, truthfully, we don't know the Ministry of Education. We don't actually know what they do. We just know they set our exams. That's about it. But they said, you know what, I'll connect you. Come, I'll set up a meeting for you. And from there, we actually ended up working with the Ministry of Education, who until today approves many of our programs to be run all across Malaysian schools. And we started in 2018 piloting this in Selangor, and today in all 14 states. We even had a press conference in the ministry building. It was like a surreal moment, as a student. And again, All of this came not because we knew anyone, not because we waited for them to come to us, because we put ourselves out there. We made sure we were visible. Now the third story I want to share with you, the final story. I know you're thinking, Harsha, wow, now things must be easy, right? Now everyone knows you guys, most of the schools know you, things must be great. Just 2 weeks ago I was in a meeting and someone said, you are still too young to run this. And I said, it's been 8 years. At least value or acknowledge some of the experiences since then. But 8 years later, I think 21 is still a bit young, people still have that same perception. Some people still are not going to believe what you do. And the challenge that we see now is, today we have some world-class programs. We have programs that use artificial reality modules and courses from Ivy League universities that we run for Malaysian students, our local students. We have entrepreneurship programs where we guide students from scratch to build, imagine, and implement their own businesses, mentored by students in MIT, Stanford, and so on. So we have world-class programs. But the issue that we see now is that sometimes when we still go and do these meetings and talk to companies and so on, people still don't understand what we're doing. A lot of people say, why should kids learn about AI? I don't think our Malaysian kids, are ready for this. Some say, are you sure our Malaysian kids can work with these people from the US and so all of that? Maybe they don't have the confidence. But the truth is, our Malaysian kids are world class. Today I study at the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school in the US. 2 of our co-founders study at Harvard. And I can assure you, I would pick our Malaysian kids any day compared to anyone else. Because they are talented and they are hardworking. And they are brilliant. But so many times we limit them ourselves by saying, I don't think they can understand, I don't think their English comprehension is good enough, I don't think this AI thing is going to interest them and so on. But people don't try. People don't go out there and listen to them. And even until today, it is a struggle. Most of our funding today, we had to be creative. We've done things from crowdfunding campaigns to Patreon campaigns. We see a lot of our funding coming from small and medium businesses in Malaysia just because they are the ones who can really resonate with the ground. In fact, a lot of the bigger companies that support us are from the US. A lot of people are like, oh Harsha, you get to go to the US, so nice that you can travel. But we go there and we do 6 to 7 meetings a day, meeting company after company after company to fund our programs here in Malaysia. Because we believe in these Malaysian kids. And we've seen people in overseas, when we present about our work in places like Switzerland, in places like New York, companies there understand why we need to invest in young. And with some convincing, are willing to do so. So now we are in a position where we are trying to change the mindset of people here in Malaysia to support their own youth, to understand that the youth here are the ones that are going to change the world, not the world going to change them. And the thing that I have learned from this is that if you cannot change everyone, start with those who you can. Now, as long as you don't stop running, you still are in the game. Because it's very nice to say Ascendance works with 50,000 kids. Oh, last year our team was in Kedah, our team was in Penang, yes. But we have to make sure that we have the engine, we have the funds, we have the resources, we have the people, we have the manpower to run all of these programs. And sometimes when you grow very fast as a young leader, you may not know how to handle it, you may not be able to gather that resources in time. And the most important thing that you can do at that point is just work with those that have your back, work with those who know that they can support you, who know you can trust, and constantly find new solutions. If people say no, don't hit the same door 100 times. Find different avenues, find different channels. And eventually, you will be creative enough to at least patch together something to start working and achieving the goals that you want. So, those are my 3 stories. How I started, how we started growing, and the challenges we see today when we start scaling. And to all the young entrepreneurs out there, I really believe that you guys can do so much more than me and so much more than many of the people that I've worked with. And if you are wondering where do you get started, where can you begin, you are already in the right place. The people you see here today are the people that you can learn from, the people, your resources in your environment now. They, just by talking, just by being bold, just by speaking to them, you can engage for your goals and so on. And again, Ascendance is always here to support. We are welcoming any student who wants to join us in our efforts. Just reach out and we'll be more than happy to talk and see how we can work together. And to those who are looking to support Gen Z, my message is very simple. A lot of people, there was actually this one of our, our contributors, who was one of our patrons, and he contributes a small amount of money every month. We met him in a roadshow. He is a lorry driver actually, but every month he contributes 50 ringgit towards helping Ascendance's initiatives. And he told me this another today. He says, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really understand what you guys do. Really, he said that. I cannot blame you. I said, it is pretty complicated, quite comprehensive. But I know this, he said. I wish my kid had something like this. I cannot do this for my kid. But at least I give you this 50 ringgit, you can do this for someone else's kid. So if you're looking to support Gen Z, you don't have to understand what they're doing. You don't have to tell them, come run this workshop, come do this and so on. You just have to listen and be willing to bet on them. Because even though in the beginning it may not be clear, all they need is your love, your support, your encouragement. Of course, your resources, your funds, everything else is important too. But with that, they will be able to show you the results. They will be able to do the work. And they will be able to, with your help, prove to the rest of the world that they are world class.
And we're so lucky we have somebody who's age 11, and as the age move, the figures increase, it's just a figure that increase. But the minds are still there as Malaysians who really want to help fellow Malaysians. I like what Harsha said just now, mentioning about Malaysian kids. They're good. Given the opportunity, they are really, really very good, and people really recognize them, especially in the other parts of the world.